Guizhou is the least developed of any of the Chinese provinces. This is because the karst limestone features, or topography, have steep mountains and V-shaped valleys, reducing the opportunity for agriculture and also for travel. It is home to a multiplicity of hill tribes, all living in little isolated villages. We were met by a new guide and bus at Sansui Station and taken to a hotel near Liping. They're called reed pipes, but they look a lot more like bamboo to me. The girls in white acted as stage managers and led the groups into position. The sign the second girl was carrying, we think, named the group which is competing. This group seems to have brought a lot of women with them. There were at least 2 hill tribes involved in the competition, but which tribes these costumes represent, we have no idea. Fireworks denoted the end of speeches and the beginning of the competition, which actually started with a bit of a mass blast before they were separated into groups. A little of that music goes a long ways, so we had one final admiring look at one of the girls carried on. It was a long winding road up the valley, but it had been hard-topped and was a reasonable width. After we passed that village, the road became very narrow. It was only a year old, but it had been blacktopped. Sticky rice is adapted to a cooler climate than ordinary rice. It is also very nutritious and essential part of the diet for a lot of the hill tribes. The drying season must be short because they obviously go to a lot of work to keep it sheltered. Our guide inspecting some of the rice paddies. I'm afraid that glutinous is about the right description for them as far as taste is concerned. The rice is pounded to produce it. School had broken off for lunch, but this young fellow was still working. His classmates seemed to be unacquainted with foreigners. One of our crowd must have been giving out flags. Precise work with crude tools, but the results seem to be extremely satisfactory. She is demonstrating the traditional method of making that cloth. I may have it wrong, but I believe the starting material is this reed, or whatever it is in the background. Nowadays they use cotton. Fabric goes through several stages of pounding with indigo, wood ash and blood, and egg white is used for the sheen. Somewhere in the past, the villagers decided that their land could support no more than the present population. Limits were set, girls were married outside of the village to prevent inbreeding, and the sex of the children was controlled by these wells. If a son is wanted, the family drink from the well on the left. For a girl, the one on the right. Apparently it's 90-something% effective. We were about to have lunch when this band came by. Some of us followed the band up a hill to the ceremonial gate where a welcoming ceremony for some government officials was set up. I get the impression that these little guys agree that the bands are rather noisy. There were 4 buses in total. We weren't that interested in listening to political speeches, so we went and had lunch. As with the pipe competition, the singing competition was very crowded. 3 of us made our way around the back of the stage, where the groups were preparing to go on. The costumes must be tight and uncomfortable. One of them dropped one of her decorations, and they couldn't seem to bend over to pick it up, so Myrtle had to do it for them. They got out of their costumes as soon as they got off the stage. Some groups had both male and female singers, and some were all male. We passed this sawmill on our way to the village. The path to what passed for a women's toilet. They weren't overly pleased. It is not wasted. It will be harvested later for fuel, probably. She's emptying the intestines so they will be edible. The outhouse is out of service, and we are told that human fertilizer is no longer used, but can't help but wonder, what was she carrying? We were led outside the gate. Drinking water was available, but this looks a bit more ominous. Traditionally, rice wine is provided to visitors at the gate. This tribe's custom is somewhat different. They sing their little welcome song and then pour the wine into your mouth. You are supposed to drink 3 cups before you're allowed to pass the barrier. They had lots of fun with Grant. He was so tall, none of them could reach his mouth. He had to bend over. We were quite taken by the girls' hats. They must have spent many hours making them. Foreigners were a novelty to the children, particularly if they had white hair and beards. They wouldn't accept a pin from me. Felix had to show them what it was all about, and that broke the ice very quickly. My stock was gone in a very short time. Very likely we were the first Westerners they had seen. Felix gave them stickers, but he had to explain to them what it was all about. Lunch in the headman's house. There was wine there too, and of course girls singing. Is it possible that someone had too much? Luckily they had a chair. Myrtle's knee wouldn't let her sit on the stools. We haven't seen one of these before. It looks like some use for corn. The headman organized a picture of these girls and himself, and then one with us. Some kind of ceremony was carried out, but we never had an explanation of what it was all about. The gear was loaded on a pole and then escorted up the hill to a special platform. The girls did one of their round dances and then took each other's pictures with Cynthia. A more elaborate ceremony started. I don't remember why, but both Cynthia and I left. The man escorting me here, I'm sure, is doing so because of my age. They are very polite to seniors. But Myrtle claims that I'd had too much wine. She's supported by both Felix and Cynthia. I think they're having me on. After all, here's the proof. I'm a tea drinker. Mind you, there are others. The group from the hill returned, along with a second group from another village. The girls of each group lined up behind their pigs' heads and had a little singing competition. Then back to the square where we were encouraged to join in their dance. my partners. We leave a village just beginning to cater to tourists, go a few miles south to one where tourism is very developed. Those green buses are for transferring tourists around that area. I'm glad we weren't there in the busy season. The whole main street was decorated in this fashion. The time and effort involved is amazing. A common problem is bush rats. They eat the rice. People seem to retaliate by eating them. Every village seems to have a drum tower. The area underneath very often is used for older people to sit around and chat. My God, she's at it again. Hammering from the cloth making is a common background noise. At least this one has been eviscerated. A lot more picturesque at night with the reflections. She crocheted through the whole performance. Back to our bus and then on to Guiyang, the capital of Guizhou. We had a good demonstration as to why Guizhou is so undeveloped. This road led us through long tunnels and over trestles, over V-shaped valleys for miles and miles. I don't know what the cost was, but it was very impressive. Back to the train to take us to Kunming in Yunnan. These were taken from the train. I don't know where the border was, so some might be in Yunnan.